Alrighty, we are back for another week of Four Doors and GT4's. I am Stu, as usual, off in the S's, and I'm joined, as usual, by Aaron at Pfeiffer TCR. Aaron,
Well,
how's it going tonight? How's it going tonight?
I'm doing okay, Stu. It could be doing a little better, but I'm hanging in there.
You know what? It could be worse, right? We're peak summer right now. We're halfway through August. Actually, that's kind of scary. That the summer has flown by this quickly, but no racing really on this weekend, which I guess kind of sucks. But we did have some good racing at Road America to talk about, and there is plenty to talk about tonight. But before we get into that, as always, if you have any questions, then feel free to drop them in the live chat. We'll discuss them as we go along. And if you're listening to this after the fact on an audio platform or on YouTube, then look out for the call for questions before the next episode, or just at one of us on your social platform of choice, and we'd be happy to take some listener questions here in the next couple of weeks. But Aaron, Road America. I almost said Road Atlanta. We're not there quite yet.
Not quite.
We still have a few more, or a couple more rounds before we get to that point. But Road America. Before we get in deep into the racing, it's an incredible weekend. There was a huge turnout of fans. This was another one of the weekends. We don't get exact attendance numbers, but it was reported by the track that this was another record-breaking weekend for IMSA, and just really good to see the fan turnout that we saw this weekend. I know you've been coming here now for a couple of years. And what was that fan turnout? What did it look like for you guys? I'm sure there was lots of people crawling around the paddock, even though where you guys were located was kind of a little bit up above everybody.
They just never give us like a legit paddock spot. We always got to be somewhere weird at Road America, and we're up on the hill this year. Road America is a special place for me. That's where I made my IMSA engineering debut, was at Road America. So the crowd was awesome. I saw you on the grid walk beforehand and commented how packed it was for a Saturday. I watched the WeatherTech race on Sunday. It looked like even bigger crowd there on Sunday. And your first time going to Road America, I'll let you tell everybody what a great spectator track it is. But Road America is a special place, and the turnout was great. I think that's the second year in a row they've told us there's been a record-breaking crowd there at Road America. And come on, IMSA, give Road America an endurance race that it deserves. Come on, give them a long WeatherTech or Pilot Challenge race. The people deserve it.
There you go. You said it right there. Everybody's been crying for an endurance race at Road America, and you know what? Even if it's the Pilot Challenge that's doing one of the 4-hour races, then that would be perfectly acceptable. Just get to see a nice extended race, get to play out over longer than 2 hours or 2 hours and 40 minutes would be fantastic. And you alluded to it. It was my first time at Road America. I feel like everybody that I talked to, there was a lot of people that had the privilege of chatting with over the course of the weekend. Really knowledgeable fans. I felt like at Road America, it was great to see, and great to see the turnout. The track is incredible. If you haven't had the opportunity to go, then I think this has to be one of your IMSA bucket list tracks. I feel like even after being, on the facility for 4 days, I didn't get to even experience, half of it while I was there. It's such a large track, so many cool spots to go and check out. Just a really cool track. Regarding your paddock space, at least you didn't get stuck where the Mustang Challenge cars were, because
we've been there before, but never. The bottom of the hill is something new. we were in the grass at the top of the hill where the vendor fair was. Yeah, they really shoved them down there, and those guys had a long weekend. I mean, they ran like once Thursday, one practice and a quali Friday, and then one race Saturday, then one race Sunday. Yeah, those guys spent a lot of time in Wisconsin. I mean, I got in late Thursday night and was home to watch the WeatherTech race by Sunday at the middle of the day, and those guys have been there before and after me.
Yeah, there were a couple Pilot Challenge cars down there too. I know Skip Barber had their car down there, and I
Oh,
think there
really?
might have been one more. And I
You bring,
was
you bring a NASCAR driver and they stick you down there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's that's what you get, right? It was talking to them, and yeah, setup work was not enjoyable working down there. So
Yeah.
at least they had a little or a little asphalt road that they could do some work on. But I think all things aside, Road America is fantastic. There's going to be more racing there actually this weekend with SRO. Maybe you're supposed to be going to the SRO race this weekend, or maybe you're supposed to be, I think as we're recording this, there was supposed to be sort of the SRO parade in Elkhart Lake, but it looks like that got canceled. But regardless, a fantastic facility. And we did have some fun racing to talk about here. I talked about the Mustang Challenge just a second ago. We'll briefly touch on that racing. The winner of both race 1 and race 2 was 2 races for them as usual. Sam Paley broke through and got his first wins of the season. The former MX5 Cup competitor, now turned Mustang Challenge race winner, or multiple race winner. He swept the races in the Dark Horse class, and then in the Dark Horse Masters class, it was also a sweep by Zachary Lee, who has been very strong in that Dark Horse Masters class. Also, something news that just dropped, I believe it was this morning. There is now I believe it's called the Mustang Challenge Cup that is being implemented as sort of a step before this on the Ford development ladder. It is going to be run, I think, with it's not going to be run with IMSA though. I can't recall.
UTAC was running it.
USAC?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to be run on some of their race weekends. A pretty interesting calendar that they have. Coda, I think, was on there. I'm pretty sure I saw Road America.
Lime Rock was on there.
Lime Rock Circuit, or the Ozarks International.
Oh, okay.
Ozarks is going to be on there. Yeah, you haven't been able to see too many. I think SRO was supposed to go there a couple of years ago, but they ended up not. And it looks like a pretty interesting circuit there.
Nobody wants to go there because it's wrapped in Armco everywhere with like blind turns everywhere.
True.
But yeah, I saw that's a cool schedule, and they made it so it never clashes with the IMSA weekend, so you could run your car in both series if you wanted to. And then I also saw that you could actually run 2 different drivers, one for race 1 and one for race 2, and they have 2 different qualifying. So
yeah,
it definitely gives teams a lot of options to play around with that Mustang. And obviously they have a high demand for the cars if they're going to add another series to it. Plus they're going to Le Mans. So for the invite race. So yeah, I mean, that series is off and running. I saw McLaren launched an Evo kit for their Cup car that's coming to SRO next year. So many single make guys getting into the action right now.
Yeah, it was great to see that. I think it's a really good idea that Ford is implementing this really entry level series, that you can take that same car and then jump up to the Mustang Challenge with it. It's like a lot of, I guess you could almost compare it to what Porsche's done with some of their sprint. I think the Sprint Challenge is what they call it. You can run sort of a GT4 car there, and then you can take that same GT4 car, and then you could come and run it in the the VP Sports Car Challenge in IMSA or the Michelin Pilot Challenge. There's being able to take that Mustang and run it in multiple series is good to see, and I hope that the I don't know how to say this, the cleanliness of the racing is a bit better than the Mustang Challenge. I know that there was a drivers meeting during the Road America weekend to address driving standards, because the opening few weekends for them have been a little bit tough to watch at times. But I will say, race 2 on Sunday was a great race to watch, and they cleaned it
There
up
you go.
nicely. So,
You're getting
you
better.
know, sometimes all it takes is a slap on the wrist, and drivers will snap out of it and behave. But I don't know,
Yeah.
will drivers ever really behave? I don't know about that.
Yeah, it depends who's paying the bills on their damage. Yeah.
That is true. That is true. Uh, Also present at Road America, the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. And in the pro category, it was Loic Hartog that won both races, race 1 and race 2. In the Pro-Am class, we had Pedro Torres and James Sofronis that won there. And in the Masters class, it was a Chris Balomo sweep in there. So Porsche Carrera Cup, I didn't get to watch a ton of the action. I don't know if you were able to watch the races much.
I have not seen any of the Career Cup from Road America yet.
I will admit that the Carrera Cup is usually one of the usually after the Pilot Challenge, after the MX5 Cup is usually when I'll get around to watching it if I wasn't able to watch it live. But I know just being able to walk through the paddock spaces there. Speaking of being at the track a long time, the Carrera Cup guys were there for the entire weekend as
Yeah, I
well.
think they had the same bad schedule that the Mustang guys had. Yeah.
Yep, I remember walking through after I'd filmed the race recap video and everything, and it was well after the end of the WeatherTech race, and I thought, wow, these guys are still not on the road yet. That's gonna suck. But
Yeah. That's well, it's a good if you're flying mechanic, you get a lot of billable days at least.
that's true. That's true. And that's the race weekend sometimes. At least it was a nice pack up day. It wasn't raining or anything, so you don't
Yeah.
have to deal with that. And then of course we had the Michelin Pilot Challenge, which we'll definitely focus the majority of tonight on, and we'll also talk a little bit about VIR before we wrap things up today. So, like I said, if you do have any questions, as we're starting to get some people file in, then post them in the chat, and we'll get to them as we go along. But the Michelin Pilot Challenge race, Aaron, Road America, we talked about it in the preview. You were expecting a race that, we're going to see some full course yellows at times. And this was a race that we did have 2 full course yellows over the extent of it. Between those full course yellows, when we did have on track running, there was some pretty solid racing that took place. We saw good battles in the GS class. We saw some good battles in the TCR class. In the first stint of the race, it was the Montreal Motorsports Group, one of the Hondas, and I think it was the 33 Hyundai from Brian Herta. They were having a good battle, and I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was a photo finish, so to speak, when the full course yellow came out as to who was ahead. They were right in the middle of that battle. But overall, Road America, it seemed like it was pretty well what you were expecting it to be from what we had talked about in the preview. Was there anything that surprised you from the weekend?
Well, let's jump back to Friday where you have
Yeah.
FP1 and FP2, and you have, I had said in last week's episode that you're so pressed for track time there because it's such a long lap. And, in FP1, we had 2 yellow flags or 2 red flags for cars off that slowed down the session, didn't give us, a lot, all of the track time, let's say. But then you go to FP2 and we had 5 red flags. Most drivers got, both of my drivers got, one of them got 1 push lap, one of them got 0 timed push laps. That's what a mess FP2 was. And so, we're going to Saturday morning qualifying at 8 a.m. and you've got very little data about what your car's been doing. I mean, honestly, I couldn't even get hot tire pressures in FP2. That's how chunky and broken up the session was. So luckily, I had my tire pressures pinned in FP1, but that's what a mess it was. So yeah, going into Saturday, I was thinking it's going to be a total nightmare of a race, honestly, because you'd see a lot of those incidents were those were not cars being disabled from mechanical issues; they were wrecks in the practice, and the drivers saying that it's slick offline, and so yeah, you're expecting. I went into Saturday going, "Oh, we're going to ride around behind the safety car a whole lot," and honestly, we didn't get that. You know, I really would have liked one more safety car lap, which we'll talk about later. But uh, yeah, so the race actually, yeah, it ended up being a pretty interesting race. You look at the first half of the race. You get the yellow flag right there once the driver's time window opens, and you do the full course yellow procedure. Everyone's packed back up. Everyone gets their stops in GS and in PCR, and then that's really when things started to shake up in the race. I would say, you have, like you said, the 33, I believe, came into the box in the lead. You had some cars short filling in TCR. You had the 99 car stay out. They didn't even come in, or no, I'm sorry, they did come in, but they put a splash in, but they didn't change their driver. So you have a lot of different strategies break out just right there in on pit lane. You had the 33.
Oh, I think we might have lost Aaron for a second here, but I can carry on with what Aaron was talking about here with the 33 that Brian Hurd Autosports Hyundai. They were able to they had a good pit stop, and they were able to, if I'm not mistaken, they were able to maintain the lead. We'll see. Yeah, Rocky Mountain 7 says a big freeze. So we'll wait for Aaron to come back here in just a second. Um, but yeah, from my perspective, being there at the track, Aaron alluded to it on Friday. There was a lot of red flags, and um, a lot of these Michelin Pilot Challenge teams. We've talked about it the past couple of weeks. That they're not getting the same opportunity to go to a lot of these tracks like the WeatherTech Championship teams are, and doing a lot of testing. They're showing up and unloading, and for some of these maybe not many of the drivers, but these cars, it might be the first laps that they've turned this year on the track. So they do have to learn a lot from setups that they've brought in the past, and learn to apply that for this year's race. So it is a little bit different in that sense from the WeatherTech Championship race. There are test sessions leading up to these events, but a lot of these teams, they just don't have the budget to be able to go out to every single one of those test sessions beforehand, and then it can sometimes lead to the incidents that we saw in the early practice sessions. Um, and yeah, that can reduce the running time that you have for the weekend, but also raise a lot of concerns, like Aaron alluded to, where there were a lot of question marks going into the race on Saturday. Yes, it was a Saturday race. I'm going to take a look at some of the questions and see if we can kill a little bit of time before Aaron, I think, is popping back in here.
Oh, sorry, we have thunderstorms and my internet is going out. Sorry.
That
See,
is a-okay. We
even Mother
lost you.
Nature doesn't want me to relive the trauma of Road America. Uh,
We
sorry.
had lost you on pit
Yeah,
lane.
I don't know. I don't know where.
We were
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So okay, so yeah, we were talking about pit lane. Yeah, so the 33 has an incident that causes them to have a drive-through penalty, and so we go back to green, and I think we were riding P5 or P6 at that time, and then that's when the strategy really started to break out in both GT4 and TCR, where we stopped so early on such a fuel hungry track that everyone basically needs. Well, not basically, as you saw, everyone would need more fuel or they weren't going to make it for the end of the race.
Yeah, it's these full course yellows, even it seems like every race they fall at an interesting time. There wasn't any real question marks for the GS class cars on whether they were going to be able to make it to the end. Um, and honestly, I didn't think that there was a chance in the world that any of the TCRs were going to try and go for it. But then we did see we saw some rolling of the dice, I guess you could say. Actually, I was gonna say that that full course yellow that we did see, I thought it was pretty long. The first one for debris, I think it was.
Yeah,
Um,
so there's somebody's tire is sitting in the middle of turn 13 for a couple laps before they throw that yellow. Honestly,
Interesting. Okay, I did not know about that. It was, these are the things that you don't. I don't think they showed it on the broadcast. Either that, or I was asleep when that happened. But I was surprised at how long that full course yellow was. But when we did get back going, I think we had about an hour and 5 minutes
so
to go.
I'm looking at the flag analysis right now, and you're right. That is a pretty long yellow. Actually, it's 17 minutes and 40 seconds for IMSA to get it done. Then somehow they would do it in only 6:49 later. But yeah, so that would leave an hour and 7 minutes left, and that's after running a couple more laps around under yellow
True.
because I even thought about splashing um, at the end of that yellow because it was going so long. So yeah, I'm not sure. You're right. That was just a simple pickup of a piece of debris. So I don't know. I'd have to go back and look and see what took so long. But when you gotta do wave by, then
And a
two,
4 mile track.
yeah, and then you do final wave by, and then you do class split, novel concept. It can get pretty long on you. So yeah, we go back green, and then if you look at what happened in GT4, you saw what ended up being the race winning strategy for RS1 was they boxed very early. I just quickly rewatched some of the race before we came on here, and they stopped with like 50.
Oh no. I think we lost him again, but I know exactly where he was going with this. Is that RS1 Porsche? They were one of the first stoppers coming off of the full course yellow period. They knew what their final stint length needed to be. They wanted to have a shorter final pit stop, spend less time on pit road, whereas anybody who was boxing after them was going to have to put more fuel in the car and have a slightly longer stop. So trying to get that stop out of the way, maybe get some clean air as well, have some clean laps before they had to negotiate around that TCR traffic. And the RS1 Porsche, they did a really good job. I was watching the broadcast back, like Aaron was before or after work today, and one of the things, they made a pass for the lead, I believe, even before they made that pit stop. They had really good pace. It wasn't just on this strategy alone that they won this race. They did a really good job throughout the entirety of the weekend in showing strong pace. But I'm going to try and prolong this a little bit until Aaron gets back in, because I know there's the most critical part of this race, especially in the TCR class, came down towards the end. But in the lead up to the final full course yellow that would eventually, help decide the TCR class win, we did have some great battles taking place. We saw fuel strategy playing out. Not necessarily fuel strategy, but definitely different strategies on this final pit stop. In the TCR class, we saw cars coming in at various times. Same with the GS class. We were seeing throughout this final stint in the lead up to the final full course yellow, these different strategies take place. Some cars were taking tires. The Alfa Romeo took front tires on their final pit stop, and rode those to the end. But Aaron, you're back with us now, and just thunderstorms. It happens.
What's funny is we were worried about my hotel internet last time, and it
It's true.
actually proved to be much better than my own home's internet. Um, yeah, so before I was probably rehashing everything. Sorry, everyone.
No,
But yeah,
we're about in the lead up to that full course yellow, the final full course yellow, and just the strategy
okay.
that was all playing out.
So what proved to be the winning strategy for RS1 you saw was stopping very early. I mean, they stopped right at 50 minutes to go, which is probably their fuel window. And yeah, and then TCR, as you were commenting on, there's a lot of people doing a lot of different things, stopping at different times. You saw JDC stop early. You saw a couple of the Herta cars stop right after them. You saw, I believe, the 93 car did that as well. Then you saw the Alpha push it further, and then you saw, my car and the Starcom car, and I think the Goo car too, continue going. And so, it's you get that yellow there at the end. You have Hawksworth, not somebody you would expect to tub a car. Have an incident in 13. It instantly goes yellow, and then for myself and for everyone else, the race gets turned upside down. But from my vantage point, uh, I was not happy because we were about to fuel right then. We were going to make our final stop and be done with it too. But I also wasn't too worried because I'm going, okay, it's going to take 3 laps minimum to do a yellow with the wave by and all that stuff. So we're obviously we're tight on fuel at this point, so we're in max fuel save. The GS leader had just passed us, so we don't have to do a wave by. So I'm going, okay, we're saving a lot of fuel there. We're probably saving 1.5 liters of fuel right off of that, because we're not going to have to go all the way around the track. We're just going to fall back for the class split, and we're going to have 3 laps of yellow here. We're going to be okay. So they're getting the wreck cleaned up pretty quick, but the cars are on the back straight going towards Canada corner, and I'm going, okay, we're going to get one more lap of yellow here because we still haven't done the class split.
Yeah.
And one thing about Road America, the radio is very, very hard to hear on the backside of the track. So it's very hard for me to communicate with a car until it's well out of Canada corner, and race control comes on and says, in like a weird tone that wasn't their normal tone. They said, "We're doing it. We're going this lap. Safety car lights out." And we're all kind of sitting there like in shock because we're sitting in second overall right in the race right then, and
Knowing that you're tight on fuel.
Knowing that you're tight on fuel, and knowing that we're just skipping something that we do every single yellow procedure, whether it's a short yellow or a full yellow. So I'm like talking to Denny as fast as I can, trying to get him. I'm having to repeat it because I don't know if he can hear me. And it turns out later, after I talked to him, he said, "I'm so close to the pace car, I saw him cut out the lights, so I knew we were going green." And so we go green with 9 minutes left to go, without doing.
Oh no, third time's the charm. Third time's the charm. All right, we need Aaron to give us the rest of this story. So I am going to take a look at some of the comments. We're going to take, this is going to be a mini chat intermission here, and we'll talk about some other aspects of the weekend. What do we have here? We have John from earlier on in the stream. SRO is racing at Road America this weekend. The Random Vandals team is debuting their new M4 GT3 as well as the new Flying Lizard M4 GT3. We do talk about from time to time some of the, you can't really escape some of the BOP that goes on in different series. And yeah, it sounds like Flying Lizard campaigning campaigning that new M4 GT3 kind of as a result of some BOP concerns, unfortunately, with the Aston Martin Vantage Evos that they were running over there. Of course, we do have one of the Vantage Evos that's competing in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and actually had a fairly strong race. Where did Rebel Rock finish in this one? Because they were on, we were talking about different strategies. They had a slightly different strategy than what we saw from a lot of the competitors as well. Boxing early, and then I believe they came and topped up on fuel very quickly. But they ended up finishing 12th here. We do have Aaron back. So
at this point, I'm going to go sit in my truck and use my truck cellular Wi-Fi. This is just embarrassing at this point. I'll talk quickly because obviously I can't make it through this today. But yeah, so we don't get the class split, and we go back green. 9 minutes left to go, and not only did it affect our race, but it affected the second and third and fourth place cars in GS as well, because they're restarting and the RS1 gets to get away and they have to pass us, a TCR, which they're normally not passing on a restart. We're in a massive fuel save at that point as well. So by the end of the front straightaway, RS1's well past the Todd Coleman car and Random Vandals and Vanderster. And so anyway, I'm telling, I'm saying we need to save as much as we can. And I thought we still might be okay until I saw when we were going to take the white flag. And then when we took the white flag, I think you said you were in my pit box. I didn't even know, but
I was lurking around back there. Yeah.
I just shut my laptop with my fuel numbers on it because I knew it was going to happen. So, I thought we were going to run out in turn 5. We ran out in turn 7. We ended up saving a whole nother lap of fuel than Starcom, because if you look, we actually pull up right behind them. So, we were doing better at fuel saving than another Hyundai with Andy Lally in it. So, not all bad, but that's it's been very, very tough one to swallow for sure. It's 100% my fault. I rolled the dice on that. I got greedy and wanted to get the win and played an aggressive strategy that I've played before this year, and it's worked out. And it bit me. It's just a tough one to take. I let all my guys down. I can't tell you how many times I've apologized to all of them over the last couple of weeks. We could have had a huge point swing, and instead we swung the points really badly in the other way for us in the drivers' championship. So, kind of live by the sword, die by the sword thing. That's what happened. We've gotten to this position in the championship by being aggressive since we left Sebring. But a series of unfortunate events led to something else happening. So, and then when you get told by the race director after the race that he forgot to do the class split, it's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I know when I was down, I was on around the pit lane when that full course yellow was going sort of through the paces. And I was very surprised, at how quickly everything happened. I understand that, Road America it's a long lap to do a lap under full course yellow around there. And it certainly felt very quick, especially compared to the first full course yellow. But yeah, rewatching the race back tonight is, the things that were going through my head are, short yellows. I don't know if it was, I can't recall when it was declared.
If it's under 30 minutes to go in the race, it's going to be a short yellow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because there's a couple of different things in the rule book about yellows. I think if it was under 30 minutes to go, then it won't be a standard yellow. But if it's under 15 minutes to go, then it's a short yellow. I mean, I'm not well versed on the rule book, but reading those two different numbers was interesting. But the thing that did stick out was there wasn't anything in there about, the class split being able to be skipped. And that wasn't something that, clearly you haven't seen this done before. I haven't seen this done before, and it's probably because it wasn't done before. So it is unfortunate that, something like that, has affected the outcome of the race, because, you it's not a 1-to-1 ratio of, if you have one more lap under full course yellow, you have one more, lap of race fuel. But, you guys came up, it was less, what, half a lap? Half a
Yeah,
lap
I
is
mean,
what you needed.
if we had run the lap under yellow, well, first of all, you would have run one less lap under green anyway, so
Yeah,
we would have been
true.
perfectly fine on fuel. Probably wouldn't even need to save, honestly, on those last couple laps. And there was still, I get IMSA's desire to finish the race under green, but
Mhm.
it wasn't 3 minutes to go. There are still 9 minutes to go when we go green, and I've heard IMSA many a time say on race control, even though they say this to them all the time when not on race control, but you hear it on the race control channel, safety car plus 10 miles an hour, safety car plus 15 miles an hour. So they could have, if they wanted to expedite it, they could have
Mhm.
done the extra lap, done the pass, or done the class split and sped the safety car up some and
Well,
gotten that final lap back
yeah.
knocked out and still had, 6-7 minutes left of racing. But
Yeah, and the class split isn't the longest part of these full course yellows. It's the class split is, cars stay to one side as and let the GS cars pass, right?
I mean,
It's not
literally,
like you're it's
we
not
were
a
the only
wave
car,
around.
we were the only car that needed to be split. I mean,
Yeah,
literally, we would have just
true,
opened up the gap and let everybody come back in front of us, and we would have been right behind or right in front of the Alpha. So,
true.
yeah, I mean, it not only did it affect that race, it affects the TCR championship very
Yeah.
dramatically. I mean, that was going to be a 90-point swing one way, and it was 70-point swing the other way. So, yeah, I mean, I, at the end of the day, I still should have just played it safe. So I can't blame them, but it's frustrating to see
Yeah.
something like that happen, and it's not the first time we've seen different things happen this year in IMSA with regards to officiating. I mean, we ran a whole extra lap at Mid Ohio. We ran one less lap at the Rolex. So, these things seem like pretty basic things to me sometimes. But yeah, we're just, you know, we had a bad week at Laguna, and I was the first one to tell everybody to flush it. And so that's what we got to do here.
Yep.
It's
Feel
me that has to flush it. I'm the one who can't move on. You could ask my wife how miserable I was to be around all last week. Pretty grumpy, and honestly, I rewatched the race that night in the hotel room, and then I haven't looked at it at all until just an hour before here. So, yeah, that's racing though. It's cruel. I mean, I've had it be cruel to me many times, but it's definitely the first time I've had it be just 100% on me. So that one's it's tough when you're the one who fumbles the football at the goal line there at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's I can
Football's a
only.
sport we have here in Americas too. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Oh,
Not the
yeah,
one where
yeah.
you have the goalpost in the end zone and the weird long field.
You see, we do have that in Canada, but we have one less down, a bigger ball, and a bigger
Yeah,
field. So
110-yard or meter field or whatever.
no,
Yeah.
no, 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 it's in yards. Well,
Oh, it's in yards. Well, that really doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
yeah, it is in yards, I think. Yeah, because we like to do this nice mixture of everything. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, there are three more rounds still remaining in the championship. You have VIR coming up, you have Indy, and then you have the season ending well, your guys isn't Motul Petit Le Mans, but it is the Petit Le Mans weekend. So there's we'll touch on the championships and what everything looks like in just a minute. You've started the chat on football. So
sorry.
um, that is right around the corner. The season is at the doorstep. Um, In the GS class, how it wound up was you were talking about RS1 and the strategy that they employed. It worked out very well for them. Trent Hinman and Stephen McAleer were able to take their second win in a row in the GS class, ahead of a couple of the older spec Aston Martin Vantage GT4's. The first one, the number 88 Archangel Motorsports Aston, and then the number 19 Vanderstar Racing Aston Martin. So the Aston Martins did look quite strong. Also notable here, rounding out the top 5 there, a couple of the Ford Mustang GT4s. The Fords may have not been strong in the WeatherTech Championship race, but they were strong here in the Michelin Pilot Challenge race. In TCR, it was the little Alpha that could. This was their 4th year in a row winning here. That was.
I mean, I will say that I did call that they were going to win the race. So
you did.
Only
so
one car could stop them, and I screwed it up. But yes, I talked to Tim and Will after the race. I mean, 2 really great guys that I really enjoy speaking with and racing with, and happy for them to get their first win of the season after they've had a really good bounce back after some pretty miserable races to start the year.
Yeah, especially miserable at Watkins Glen as well, getting taken out of the mix before they even really got a chance to start the race. It was not all bad for Hyundai though, with the number 98 Brian Herta Autosports Hyundai finishing in second, and then rounding out the podium, a car that we've talked about them a little bit. They're starting to put together more race results as the season goes along. The number 93 Montreal Motorsports Group Honda. That we've seen them show really good pace in qualifying, but they've shown some really good race pace here in recent races, and they're starting to put together some good consistent runs.
Yeah, another nice drive for them, and if you talk about points, obviously a very detrimental blow to anyone in the drivers championship trying to chase down JDC, but it was a very good day in the manufacturers championship for Hyundai, as Hyundai finished 2 manufacturers ahead of the Audi, so that did actually put Hyundai into the manufacturers points lead by 20 points. So that is our number one goal as a team, is to deliver that championship for Hyundai first and foremost. So that one's still very much up for grabs between Audi and Hyundai going into the final 3 races.
Definitely. You raise a good point there, and that's I know I'm guilty of not talking about it enough, not looking at it enough. But the manufacturers championship, that is definitely something that you guys are focused on. That's it may not have the same. Oh, did we lose Aaron again? I think we might have. It doesn't have the same sort of allure to it for many fans as the drivers championship or the teams championship does, but definitely a lot to play there for the manufacturers. Let's take a look at the point standings here, and I'm going to remove Frozen Aaron from our screen here, taking a look at the GS Championship standings. And here it is still the number 46 team TGM Aston Martin, despite not a strong run at Road America. They are leading the point standings there with 2,000 points. They have a 200-point lead over the new second place car, the RS1 Porsche. And then you'll find the number 19 Vanderstar Racing Aston Martin just 30 points behind them. So 200 points is a fairly sizable lead here, considering that 350 points are available for a race win. There are no qualifying points involved here. So yeah, a 200-point advantage is pretty sizable, and is going to take some work by some of these, the RS1 Porsche. They're going to have to win more than 2 in a row probably if they want to have an opportunity at the championship. And even this was even with TGM not having a great day, that number 46 entry ended up finishing 11th in the GS class. So we do have Aaron back as we talk about the championship points here. But yeah, that GS championship looks like the 46 TGM Aston Martin is easily the favorite there. As we bump down to the TCR class now, here we see it's a 220 point advantage for the number 17 Unitronic JDC Miller Motorsports Audi over the number 76 Brian Herta Autosports Hyundai. Right there, just 10 points behind, though, is the number 33 Brian Herta Autosports Hyundai. So there is definitely a cluster of the Hyundais that are there together in second, third, and fourth. But with 3 rounds to go, we're gonna have to, it's a deficit. It's a deficit for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second if my internet doesn't fail for the 20th time. But yeah, I mean, we don't have the luxury of the car count that GS has right now to give you a big point split. There's only a 140 point swing up for grabs going into VIR with the entry list coming out yesterday. So it's a big hill to climb, and our goal has been to finish in the top 3 of the championship all year, and now we've also let our teammates right back into it with us. So for the 76 car, a lot of work to do. But I will say we had our worst race of the year at Laguna, and then we went out and won in the next one. So we're excited. I mean, I'll go ahead and transition us to VIR. We're excited about
Let's do
VIR.
it.
Denny and Preston are actually racing there this weekend. Champ Car is running the 24 hours of VIR. Their big race, the biggest probably amateur endurance race of the year in North America, is that race, and they're running down there with our friends from the Rockwells in one of their Porsche Boxsters, who's actually won the race overall last year. So those guys will get a lot of seat time this weekend in one of the Rockwell Boxsters, and then that is Preston's home track. He lives in the Triangle area, so just less than an hour away from VIR. So he has a ton of laps there. If you look at last couple of years, the Hyundai's been strong there. They went 1-2 2 years ago, and they went 2-3 last year.
That was a perfect end of the sentence. The storms where Aaron are really kicking his butt right now. But we can transition off of that. It is a strong Hyundai track, like Aaron was alluding to, and taking a look at the entry list here, we do have 31 total cars that are going to be on the grid here. Oh, Aaron is still with us. Perfect.
Wow, it didn't crap out completely that time. So yeah, I mean, I think VIR is going to be an exciting weekend. That's Stu, you can complete your world tour of IMSA this year and come to see us in Virginia this weekend.
No, I figure I probably have to spend some time at home. Otherwise, I might not have a home to come back to. So
that's very fair, yeah.
I'm trying to be smart. I think the only other race that I'll be at this year is probably Road Atlanta. So
see my home track. There you go. That's a great one to come to as well. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I gotta complete the road, the tracks with road in the name. So
there you go.
I think those are the only 2 that IMSA visits. So might as well knock them out in 1 year, right?
Well, give us these 2 weekends, and we'll try to make it so there's at least some type of points championship to fight for you to come see it at Road Atlanta.
True. I'm sure there'll be good racing nonetheless, though. But focusing back in on VIR, I always like to ask you about sort of things that you're looking for in the track before the weekend. VIR is very unique beasts. I think a couple of episodes ago I talked about CTMP kind of being like a high-speed roller coaster. VIR definitely has roller coaster tendencies as well. A ton of turns around this track. So what are main concerns that you're looking for going into VIR? From the first thing that comes to mind for me is probably tire wear. Is that something that you think could play a big factor coming into this weekend?
First thing I think about VIR, IMSA, last weekend of August is hot. It's very, very hot every time, and so that is probably the first thing that I think of normally with VIR is the heat and how it will affect, excuse me, not only tire wear, but, your drivers. I mean, we were running a chill out suit on Preston 2 years ago, and we were still throwing, ice towels on his head after he got out of the car for his stint. So, yeah, VIR is a challenging track, a track that for some reason still produces a lot of yellows, even though there's a ton of runoff everywhere there. Look, I just am not going to finish this one today. Obviously, something's going to take me out one way or another. Um, but yeah, I'm like, I- it's a track that tends to put on good shows. Honestly,
Yes, I would tend to agree. We've seen some good races both on the WeatherTech Championship side as well as on the Michelin Pilot Challenge side here. And we were talking about this a little bit before we went live. Is the car count that we're going to see this weekend? You alluded to it a moment ago that it's not the TCR class is not as large as the GS class. Oh, Aaron is still here. Perfect. You're still here. This is good. This is progress. It's not completely dropping you anymore.
there's gonna be four doors and Aaron sitting in his Dodge Ram next time you see us, because that's where I'm gonna have to do it from. Obviously,
Dodge. Let's see if we can get a Dodge sponsorship on this.
yeah, my Wi-Fi in my truck is better than my Wi-Fi in my house. Yeah.
But yeah, we were talking about grid size. It's there's still going to be 31 cars on the grid. There are some passing opportunities here around VIR. But yeah, anything else specifically other than the heat that you're keeping an eye on in this race? There's a ton of runoff. And yeah, I'm not sure where my thought was trying to finish with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously it's a challenging track. I mean, I think the biggest thing for a pro am series like this for the am is to keep your foot down all the way through the S's. I mean, I know in working with a lot of AM drivers there in the past, that's normally it's hard for them to get their brain to do that at first. And it is a track where it's demanding on the driver a lot, but you do get to take a break on the back straight and kind of regroup your thoughts if you're not in a battle. So, um, yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's a close one for me. I don't have to hop on a plane for once. Been a while, so it's about a 4 hour drive for me. I have a decent amount of friends that normally come out to cheer us on for that one, and I have never given them a good show. I have had a bunch of terrible races at VIR every single year, including starting in fourth and spinning out in like the third turn on the first lap. Once, we had mechanical failures last year. We cut 3 tires 2 years ago. So, yeah, looking forward to maybe getting the monkey off my back at VIR. Uh,
That
we'll see. I mean, I know you were talking about grid size a little bit. Yeah, it's a little disappointing, honestly. I mean, to have 10 TCR cars there, you do get some attrition normally throughout the year, but considering we had 17 at Daytona, it's definitely gone down. And when you're in the points battle like we are, it quite frankly stinks to not have car count, because that's how you
when you're
get so much
trailing
more.
in the points battle for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're JDC, you're very, very excited to see the low car count come out for this race. So yeah, and then in GT4, I mean that championship, you can see when you have a big spread, you can have a big swing weekend. I mean, you saw, um,
To carry on Aaron's thought, the last place car in the TCR class at Road America, and just talking about some of the point spreads that we see, the last place car got 190 points, and there were 3 more cars on the grid. So you're looking at 190, 200, 210 is essentially the lowest number of points that you can score in the TCR class this weekend at VIR. 210 points are going to go to the 10th place car, and then 350 points are going to go to the top place cars. That's what, 140 point swing is the maximum point swing that we can see this weekend. In the GS class, that is of course larger. They have, how many more entries do they have? It's 10,
21.
11.
Right?
Yeah, they have 11 more entries. So that's,
Yeah.
There could be a 250 point swing,
Yeah.
essentially that you're looking at there. So,
And
that's,
you saw a big swing last weekend. I mean, that was a 300 something point lead that
yeah,
is down to a 200 point lead. And RS1 was nowhere in that championship. It seemed like 2 races ago, and now bang, they're right there in second
back-to-back
place.
wins.
Van der Stur continues to string along a lot of good finishes and stay right in there. And yeah, you saw TGM just have one slip up weekend, and all of a sudden that one feels a lot tighter than it did just going into Road America.
Yeah, yeah. Now, before we get to a couple of questions and probably wrap this one up for the sake of your sanity here with
But man, this Road America race won't leave me alone. Yeah.
This is like the CTMP round where they were having issues with the connection there, but this time it's we're being affected by it. You mentioned that Hyundai has been strong here in the past. Is there anybody else, that any other of these manufacturers, Alpha, the Audis seem that they've been pretty strong everywhere so far this year, or maybe the Honda as well, who we talked about them earlier. They seem to be coming on strong. Is there anyone in particular that you're keeping a close eye on, or are you essentially going into this round, everybody's going to show up?
I mean, I feel like when you're here going into round 7 of the season, you've seen the same, 6 cars really all battling out for the podium spots consistently all season. You've seen the Herta cars, you've seen JDC, you've seen Alpha, and now you've seen the 93 Honda really turn it on here. So, I think any of those cars are in play. If you look last year's race, turned into a strategy race that was negated at the end by a caution, but Alpha was actually winning that race and caused the caution by wrecking out of the lead. And they were managing their gap with JDC pretty easily, it seemed. So you definitely would think the Alpha will be good there. JDC continues to be just fine all year long. So, and then the Honda has come on really well with pace. You see, there's only one of them now on the entry list, but it's the one that's had 2 podiums the last 2 races. So, I think and then you have the Baker Audi coming back. We
I was just going to mention them.
We saw the pace that they can have. Victor's car, I mean, 2 really good drivers in there. Tyler is a great driver. They just kind of haven't had very much luck this year. I mean, I wouldn't count those guys out either. So, I think still up for grabs. This race for sure. Interesting to see how many I mean, I was looking back at the flag analysis, and it tends to be a lot of yellows at VIR. So, we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, if you're a car like mine or a car like the number 5 car, you kind of need a yellow to have your race work out for you. So we're excited about it. Like I said, the boys are getting a lot of track time this weekend in a rear-wheel drive car, but still a lot of track time. And I was ready to go race as I drove to my hotel from Road America Saturday night. I was ready to go race again and move on from Road America's end. So yeah, for me, I think I wish it was this weekend. I'm ready to get it done and ready to get back on our podium streak. There's no reason we can't keep stringing them back together, and there's no reason to give up. There's 8 other cars that would love to be in our position in second chasing. So, we're not going to give up. I've seen crazier things happen in this championship. You can go look at Road America, Road Atlanta last year, where
I was just
I mean, literally anything can happen. So we're going to try to put pressure on those guys, and if not, we're going to try to get a bunch of trophies at least on our way to the end of the year here.
That's all you can really. That's all you can really do on
Did,
the.
did you see my Instagram story yesterday when I went to Preston's house? I was up in his neck of the woods for my day
Oh
job,
yes.
and he keeps our first place trophy on the floor next to his dog's dog bed in his man cave room. I couldn't have been more upset to see where the trophy was sitting on the floor next to the dog bed. Yes.
Did that trigger him to move it at all that you know
Well,
of?
he's got this shelf and he's got this TV, and I was like, you need to actually put a shelf on the wall here to put he's not used to having all these trophies. We didn't have them for the last couple of years, so he wasn't ready for this influx of them that we have. So, yeah, he claims if he doesn't put a shelf in there, I'm just going to come hang a shelf in there myself next time I'm up his way.
Sounds like a pretty good birthday gift or something, something like that. Going, Preston needs he needs a trophy shelf, a new one. So an expanded one, and hopefully an even larger one as the season goes on. Hopefully this is just a temporary freeze for Aaron. I do want to just touch on the GS class before we wrap things up here. Again, if you have any questions, now is the time to get them in. But on the GS side, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the McLaren. The McLaren did get a bit of BOP on it. It's not anything really significant, but it is just worth mentioning. The McLaren, I think you always have to keep an eye out now on the car that's won back-to-back races, the RS1 Porsche. They've looked very, very strong and very strong driver lineup there as well. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on those cars here as we head into the VIR weekend. And then, yeah, Aaron touched on the TCR class. It's been very close all season long. And you could reasonably, with the way that those manufacturers and the cars have been going there, you could probably see any of those cars come out on top reasonably. So taking a look at some of the questions here. Let me scroll up. I know I saw one that is not related really to the Michelin Pilot Challenge, but we can talk about it before Aaron comes back, and that is just thoughts on Roxy's performance. It was really impressive to see what Roxy did at Road America. Julian Andlauer did a great job in that car, and they're going to have another driver in for VIR. We do have Aaron back now, so that is fantastic stuff. Just as we're going to wrap things up with a few questions, we do have the chat who are now certified weather folks here, saying that the hoping the current forecast holds low 80s. I know I saw somebody else say that it is looking like it's going to be cooler than last year. John mentioned that the early forecast for next weekend of VIR is a little bit cooler than normal. So I'm sure that is music to your ears.
I mean, I'm not in the car. I'm not a big crybaby like the drivers. Whatever. It doesn't matter to me if it's hot or not. They got a window they can roll down if it's hot. Yes, I will. Yeah, but I would. I think it would probably increase our fan turnout a lot too if we have a nice 80-degree day versus I think it was like I want to say 2 years ago it was 97 at race time. Yes,
that's toasty. That's pretty toasty.
It's 4,000 degrees in Celsius, I believe.
Yes,
I'm not totally sure about the conversion there.
No. The conversion is actually lower. So yeah, right. So every time I look at I have I see $1 and I'm like, oh, that's like 5,000 Canadians. So
right, yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
We do. John also thinks that RS1 will be challenging for the win in the GS class. The Porsche seem to run really well at VIR. I certainly agree with that. I think RS1 is going to be a tough one to beat. We do have a fan in southern or the south of Mississippi that's enjoying. Glad that you were able to join us this
Thanks for
weekend.
joining our
This
worst
weekend.
episode ever
Yeah.
as my internet failed 15,000 times.
Yeah,
Yes.
true. That's actually a good point. Thanks for everybody's patience in this one. We've this is the
This is
first.
this is karma because I made fun of you and your tech guy before the
That's,
episode, and then I just have crapped the bed the whole episode. So yeah.
that's true. I've been struggling with, the video not matching up to my voice really all that well. And yeah, Aaron gave me a hard time, and then here we are. So
Yeah, and I can't even get my internet to work. So
what else do we have? Do we have any other questions? We have from earlier in the show. John's been very active in the chat. John, we definitely appreciate it. The Mustang Cup is going to be fun to watch at VIR in November next year. Yes, I'm sure they'll bring a big parts truck. I think we have a random Vandals fan as well that may have popped in. Or no, there was a discussion of a trash can earlier on. So
I think that was Randall's talk.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much everything from what we've seen tonight. Aaron, any closing thoughts as we look ahead to VIR and what is it, like a week and a half, less than a week and a half?
Yeah, I believe we'll be on track Friday morning. So
Yeah.
a week from tomorrow morning. Yeah, just I mean, I appreciate the support of my crew. I mean, they've been very supportive. My driver's been very supportive. After Road America, again, just really hurts to let them down, but they've been super kind, and I appreciate it. I also had a lot of people reach out on Instagram and text, so that's very kind, and I appreciate it. But yeah, ready to put that one behind us. Put this terrible internet behind me tonight, and go out and have a much more positive episode to talk about next time. And yeah, well, I mean, still three more to go, and let's go win them all.
There we go. There we go. As Sam says here in the chat to wrap it up, the S's are the bestes. So that
There
it
you
kind
go.
of rhymes. It kind of
And
rhymes.
and oak tree, which doesn't have an oak tree there anymore. Yes.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. All right, everybody. Thanks again for again your patience tonight as we've battled some technical issues. We'll be back after VIR and recapping VIR, previewing Indianapolis, which is the next race, which is what, mid to end of September.
There's a month gap. Yeah. So it's near
Okay.
the end of September. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be back to fill that gap with some, IMSA support series discussion. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll start to see some news come out as some series news for next year, and see if there are any changes coming to any of IMSA series. Maybe we'll get to see some more calendars start to emerge. We'll just have to wait and see. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you in the next one.
Catch us next time when I'm live from a Panera with better internet. Yes. See you at VIR.